right in the middle.
Okay.
You're good.
That's funny. So,
All right, we're here with Oklahoma student athletes Christian James, Jamani McNeese, and Trey Young. 15 minutes with these guys before Coach Kruger comes in. Please raise your hand to ask questions to these guys, and a mic person will come over. Joe?
Joe Stark from Pittsburgh Gazette. Trey, I'm curious, you've been mentioned this year with Pistol Pete Maravich for your scoring exploits. And he was born, is this working? He was born not far from here. So I'm curious if that name means anything to you, and also what runs through your mind when you hear about his straight numbers. The guy averaged 42 points a game for his career without a three-point line.
That's unbelievable. Just to be even mentioned in the same category or even in the same breath with someone like Pistol Pete Maravich. I mean, that's a legend right there, especially in the college game. The things he was able to do on the court without even a three-point line was unbelievable. So, I mean, it's just a blessing and an honor just to be even mentioned in the same breath. That's him, like I said.
Trey, curious, at this time last year, you were just finishing up your last high school season, and now the dream has come true that you're here about to play in March Madness. What does that feel like now? And then also, with the struggles you guys had down the stretch of the season, have you been able to reset these last few days?
To your first question, I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, like you said, this time last year, I was just finishing up my high school season and getting ready for the McDonald's All-American game. And now I'm here on the biggest days of college basketball. I mean, this is a dream for me. Being the first person in my family to be in the NCAA tournament is an honor for me. And so this is, like I said, a dream come true. And so I'm gonna just cherish this moment on the court and even off the court activities. And then, yeah, I mean, this is a new season. I mean, I count the regular season as last season. We're not worried about it. Everybody's 0-0 now. Everybody in this field is capable of winning games. So we just got to come in with the mindset of we're going to compete hard on both ends for 40 minutes and hopefully get back to the way we were to start the season. And if we do that, we'll be okay.
Dana O'Neill with The Athletic. Trey, you've learned a difficult lesson this year that people aren't always nice. You had to learn that at a young age, and especially with social media. How have you handled all of that?
I mean, it's been different for me. You know, I'm 19 years old, and I've had to mature a lot more quickly than a lot of 19-year-olds would. It's been a roller coaster year, but I wouldn't go back and do anything different. I mean, these are my brothers, and we've had a roller coaster year, like I said, but I mean, we can always get better, and you can always get better, and you learn from your failures. So that's all I'm doing, and I'm just maturing and getting better each and every day.
Jamani and Christian, can you guys pinpoint if there was one or two things that happened to you late in the or middle part of the season when the slide began, and what you can do to turn that around?
I just feel like the drought came when we weren't making as many shots. You know, we shoot a lot better at home, so we just gotta, try to get more shots up at the gym too. Like we're going to, like today, we gotta put up a whole bunch of shots. And just get comfortable with the environment, like the area.
I agree with him. We went on a drought for a little bit. At a point in time, we was knocking down a lot of threes, and I feel like that helped us outscore a lot of teams. But scouting reports and things like that, when teams start to watch you, you have to change your game plan. So I feel like we'll get back to it. We'll definitely get back to it. We just gotta stay focused and just stay focused on our goal, and I feel like we'll knock down shots.
Hey, Trey, there are a few, you're one of the semifinalists for National Player of the Year. There are a few other guys in Pittsburgh this weekend who are also up for that. I'm just curious, I mean, do you ever get a chance to watch any of those other guys, whether it be a Bagley or a Brunson from Villanova, and just what kind of stands out to you about the field this year, about some of the talent in college basketball?
I mean, I watch college basketball. I mean, even when I'm not playing. I mean, I know a lot about those guys. They're all very good players. Brunson is having a terrific year. I mean, Marvin is having a terrific year. I mean, I've known Marvin since AAU days. We played against him a few times when I was in high school with Michael. But yeah, no, I mean, this whole field is good. This is one of the deepest college basketball tournaments that I've seen in the years that I've watched growing up. I mean, the tournament. So, I mean, all 68 teams are good. So, there's a lot of key players playing too.
For all three of you guys, the reaction you as a team saw maybe from national media to you guys getting in the tournament, did that give you a chip on your shoulder, and how does that ultimately feel?
Definitely. I would say it just motivated us more. You know, it's been a rocky season for us, and I feel like it's just going to make us even closer. It's just going to motivate us to play even harder. You know, I just want to get that dub even more.
That's you pretty much.
I mean, like Christian said. I mean, that's we see everything, but we're good at blocking things out. We've been good this week on just focusing on Rhode Island. They're a very good team. We have a lot of respect for them, so we got to be ready to play. But I mean, we do play with a chip on our shoulder, especially as of late. We haven't been playing very good. But like I said, we all sat down. We made sure and let everybody know like this is a new season. So it's 0-0, and I mean it's a new breath of fresh air. So we got to come out and play and be ready.
This is for Giamatti and Christian. You guys have been with Trey this whole season. You've seen the ups and the downs from the criticisms and everything. How have you guys handled that? How has that been part of your team? I mean, how do you guys approach that when you see all the constant feedback he's getting on social media?
Are you talking about like negative or positive attention?
Either.
I mean, positive. He earned it. I mean, this kid's averaging, more points and assists than anybody in the country. So, he deserves that. And the negative stuff, he's like one of our brothers, man. So, you talk bad about my brother, I'm gonna be mad about it. And he plays with a chip on his shoulder, so he goes out there and competes. And we just, gonna support him through anything. So.
Definitely. I feel like Trey's a phenomenal player. He's gonna get the criticism, good with the bad. So you have to take it. Both ways, and just keep moving. Just keep pushing forward. Phenomenal player. We seen the ups and downs, but it makes us want to play harder for him. We hate to see him get negative attention, but it comes with that area of being a great player. So it just makes us want to fight harder for him as a team.
Ryan Aber from the Oklahoman. Giamatti, for you, how important is rebounding in this game, and what do you feel like the issues have been with rebounding with this team recently, and do you feel like there's a chance to get that area turned around?
I feel like we just need all 5 guys coming in. We just got to box out better. We've been doing a lot of like rebounding drills in practice and stuff. I feel like that stuff will help us. We just got to focus more on rebounding and stuff rather than scoring. But
Andrea Adelson, ESPN.com. Trey, as a follow-up to something you just said, you want to make sure everyone knows this is a new season. Did you all have a team meeting? Did you discuss that as players only? Talk a little bit more about that.
I mean, I think after when you know you're in, I mean, every coach and I mean you all have a team meeting discussing what your plan is for the next day, traveling, stuff like that. And that was one of our things that we talked about when we got together. It was just like I said, how it's 0-0 and. We have to get back to work, and especially for a good Rhode Island team. And like I said, we got a lot of respect for them. But no, I mean, we also talk. I mean, text messages, stuff like that. We talk in our group message just about being focused and ready for a good Rhode Island team.
Trey, I know you've talked before about guys you look up to as far as their game, like Steve Nash. In this situation, is there anyone you can study from the past, like a Kemba Walker or something like that you can try and take something from this week?
I mean, I'm continuously watching film over a lot of guys, a lot of point guards. I mean, But I watched a lot of film over the old March Madnesses and the old tournament games. I mean, I remember when Kimba went off, Steph went off in the tournament, and I mean, I don't picture myself just doing what they're doing. I want to be the best version of me, so I don't get too involved in that. But I just want to be ready to play from the first game.
Eric Brady from USA Today. There was a lot of criticism of you guys making the field. Charles Barkley was one of them. Did you listen to any of that, and what do you say to those people?
I mean, you hear it, but like I said, we've been good at just blocking out everything and focusing on ourselves and how we can get better as a team, being prepared for them. But you definitely hear it. You see it all, but like I said, we do a good job of blocking it out.
Rhode Island trotting out, or I guess Trey, sorry. Rhode Island trotting out for senior starters. For anyone who might question your youth, as a freshman being a disadvantage in an environment and situation like this, what's your response?
I mean, this is the end of the season, so I think you have all the experience you need coming in. I mean, each team has played 30-plus games, so I mean, it's not like it's the beginning of the season. So I mean, they're very good. Like you said, they've won tournament games recently, so they know how to win in this environment, in this tournament. But we have some guys who've been to the Final Four 2 years ago and know how to win as well. So those guys are helping me and some of the other freshmen and sophomores and giving us advice on how to play in the tournament and what to expect. So we have some veterans, and so do they, and their veterans are really good too.
Brian Batka from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Trey, in addition to that experience, one of Rhode Island's calling cards is their guard play. As a point guard, what are the unique challenges that they present, whether offensively or defensively?
I mean, like you said, they're very guard heavy. They have a lot of good guards on their team. They know how to play well with each other, and I feel like in my eyes, guards run the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's when you have good guard play. I mean, those are the teams that usually win down the stretch too. So they have really good guards, and we got to be ready to play and match up with them.
Yeah, Jermaine Farrell, WFXR in Roanoke. Know you guys love this time of year, March Madness. It's you see it, the one shining moment, all that stuff. But for each of you, what is your favorite March Madness moment that you've seen on TV or maybe even noticed?
Oh, this year or is this all time?
Just all time watching the tournament.
I mean, besides watching it, I mean, we got to play in the Final Four our freshman year, so that's probably like the best experience I've ever had. We got off the plane, it was like jets and stuff, lined up, Army. That was probably the best experience.
Best moments are just bonding with your brothers. It's a once in a lifetime thing to be in a tournament and just have that experience. So I'll say that's the best part to me.
Last question for the student athlete. Sorry, Trey, go ahead.
I mean, I've never played in it, obviously, but I mean, I just love the joy you see on teams' faces and players' faces whenever players hit big shots, big moments. I always tear up when I see one shining moment at the championship game. So I mean, it's just an unreal feeling that I'm here now. So it's those type of moments that I always cherished growing up.
For Jimani and Christian, Trey's obviously a pretty unique player as a point guard. So just can you talk about maybe just adapting to that sort of style? What are some of the things he does to open things up for you guys? And just did it take some time to get used to that sort of style?
Not really. We kind of feed off of him. I would say he draws so much attention. It makes it easier for us to make plays and to score. Yeah, I would say he just draws so much attention. It's easier for everybody else to make plays around him, I would say.
I mean, as a big man, you want a point guard that draws all the attention. So, you get lobs, we can just rebound, kick out, run the floor, and he could look for us, man. So, I like playing with him.
It makes it a lot easier for us, I would say.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Just a reminder, locker room is open right now for any reporters who want to go in there. We're going to be joined by Coach Kruger here in a second. All right, just a few reminders here. Please, when you ask a question, say your name and your affiliation. Also, you're allowed to record the conversation for playback purposes to listen to it, but not to video it. With that, we'll open for questions for Coach Kruger.
Was the plan coming in to have Trey be that much of a vital part of the offense in terms of scoring? I mean, was that when you were drawing up a plan for him this season, was it for him to have 600 shots and 27 points a game and that stuff?
Knew he was going to be a big factor, of course. We had the opportunity of a foreign trip in the summer. That gave us a little preview. But I don't think anyone expected him to do in November and December what he did. He exploded onto the scene. He made shots. He made plays. Did a terrific job. So obviously, as a guy gets those results, you're going to adjust a little bit. But knew he was going to be a huge factor, but maybe not to the extent that it turned out.
Has he gotten better as the season's going on in terms of figuring out when to shoot and when to pass? Did you see that in maturation from November to now?
Well, defenses have made it tougher later, so that changes everything too, because they started giving him, being much more physical with him, being more aggressive, trying to get it out of his hands earlier. So probably became a lot less efficient later than early. But again, no one was as efficient as he was early. He did such a good job. He set such a high bar. I think that changes everyone's expectations, and then when it doesn't quite work out as smoothly later, then you kind of get measured by what you did early, and that was a pretty tough standard.
So yeah, Coach, actually, sorry, over here, Mark Tracy from the New York Times. To follow up a bit on that, you must watch tape not only of your opponents but your own team. I'm sure you see what teams are doing to you, from the perspective of coach of Oklahoma, but also, imagine you're a coach, scouting what teams are doing to Oklahoma. What are they doing to you guys in the past month or so that's proven more effective?
I don't know if they changed a lot in the last month. From early on, they, obviously giving Trey, more attention, trying to be more physical with him, trying to make him finish tough shots at the rim, maybe staying at home on receivers a little bit more. And the blueprint was pretty much the same game after game after game. And, we got, we came a little bit, we got married to making shots in November, December, early January. When we make shots, everything works pretty well. When we don't, our energy level's not quite the same. Not the ideal way you'd like for a team to be built, but we just haven't quite gotten away from being, connected closely with making shots. And when we make shots, things are good. When we don't, we've not done as well.
Dean Blevins, News 9 Sports. Lon, how big of a factor do you think it is that Rhode Island has not seen you? It's not like a Big 12 team seeing you for a second time and has been scouting you all year. Do you see that as playing to your advantage? And if you put yourself in their shoes, what do you think they're doing?
It goes both ways. Of course, we don't know them as well as their conference teams do either. I think they've got terrific individual talent. Coach Hurley's done a great job with them. They are attacking all the time, defensively, offensively. But for us to know exactly what they are until we get on the floor, that will be a little bit different for us, just like for them. For them to know exactly what we're about. So yeah, it's different when you're playing a team that's not as familiar, not in your league, as part of the NCAA, lore, if you will, and So yeah, it'll be a bit different for them, but us too.
Doug Galassi, Pittsburgh Tribune Review. A couple questions for you, Coach. Number one, you've coached a lot of guards in your coaching career, and what are some of the things that makes Trey unique? And then secondly, just kind of as a piggyback off of that, seems more and more freshmen are making that earlier impact and a massive impact at that. What are the big factors in that as far as what you see as a coach?
Young people come into college today having played a lot more high-level competition, perhaps through the summer, through their, high school teams, summer league competition. So I think they're more ready. They've played more basketball. They've played more, again, high-level competition. With Trey, he's just highly skilled. He's very skilled. He's very fast. Sees the floor, good imagination, probably as much as any player we've ever had for sure. And that's, again, why he's getting the results that he's gotten.
Roman Subs, Washington Post. You guys saw Colin Sexton. He's here this weekend as well, and you guys saw him earlier this year. What makes him so good, and it's just kind of so unique and such maybe a matchup difficulty?
Well, he's awfully talented. He's extremely competitive. He's got that extra gear, I think, as really good players have. He keeps the pressure on all the time. He's attack mode all the time. Got good size, good length. Just terrific all around.
Any other questions for Coach? Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Check. 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 Check.
Cedric first, he'll sit down there. Rolling right next to him. Zach, you can sit right now. All right, we're joined by Iona student athletes Cedric Casmer, Roland Griffin, and Zach Lewis. A few reminders: you're allowed to audio tape this press conference. Do not videotape it. Whenever we get to your question, please give your name and affiliation prior to asking your question, and we'll open up the podium to these guys.
Howie Kasoy, New York Post. Said you've been here a couple times now. I'm just curious what you've taken from the past couple experiences and how maybe this one's different.
Nothing like a March Madness game. You know, the energy's gonna be good. You know, we're facing a really good team, and we're just excited to get out there. You know, since we have experience, we're gonna try to like set the tone for the new guys who've never been here, because it probably could be overwhelming at first. But you know, I think once everybody gets a few plays down the court, the adrenaline will start running, and everybody will be fine.
Zachary Weiss, DYST now. What is your journey here with UMass and Canisius and this ability to experience this tournament coming in hot for yourself?
It's great. I mean, it's everything you work for as a child growing up, and it's just one of those things you just dream about. And so I'm just happy to knock off one of my dreams and get out there and play with my guys.
Hi, Will Graves, Associated Press. Shadrick, I'm just curious, and forgive the way this question sounds, with the success you guys have had, are you surprised that Coach is still there? Because what happens is, you know, traditionally guys have success in this league, and then they go up, and Iona's had a bunch of guys that have gone to another level. I mean, why do you think he's stuck around?
Coach Clues is you have to get to know him to really understand. He's like a hard worker, and he cares about winning. He doesn't take losing very lightly. So even if he wins, you know, 2 weeks later when it's time to start the new season, you know, he puts it all behind him. That's just the type of person he is, and you know, it trickles down from him to the coaching staff to all the players. So I think that has a lot to do with the success, because you know they were winning even before I got here. So.
Actually, had a similar question for the other two players too, more broad-based, but sort of generic, talking about your coach, what makes him a good coach, and how he has impacted you two guys personally in your time at Iona.
Well, in my short time here, like, he demands like the best out of you every single day. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we come into practice every day and work hard. Me and the team, like he said, he just demands greatness out of you.
Yeah, I'd say about the same. I mean, it's just hard work. We come in here, we work hard, you go home. I mean, he's like a basketball genius, honestly, as far as plays goes and how we play and how we work and how to get the best out of his players. I haven't seen, since I've been to 3 different schools, I haven't seen a coach do it better than him.
What makes him a genius?
The time he puts in a lot of work. I mean, even when we're off the court, he's still upstairs putting in a lot of work, watching film and just going over different things. So I think that's what makes him a genius, honestly.
For all three guys, I'm curious. I mean, Duke's a team that evokes strong emotions from people. People love them. People hate them. When you were growing up, do you have memories of watching them in the tournament? Were you a fan? Did you hate them? What were your feelings about them?
Most definitely. Duke is definitely a legendary team with a legendary coach. Definitely grew up watching them. You know, some teams I like, some teams I didn't like. I'm just excited for the opportunity to see where we stand against one of the best teams in the country, you know.
Same. I think everybody grows up watching Duke, all the memories, all the years. Coach K is a legendary coach, nothing but respect for him. That's it, yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same. Obviously, Duke is a powerhouse basketball school, and everybody grew up watching them. Everybody grew up watching them against North Carolina, the Syracuse, Georgetown. So that's a good opportunity, but we're excited to go out and compete against them because, I mean, we work really hard too, so we're just excited to go out and play against them.
Zach, Duke has a bunch of like one and dones, two and dones. You guys are almost the opposite, where guys come to Iona for, you know, a grad year or whatever. What made you choose Iona, and why do you think they've had success with graduate students and transfers?
One of the reasons is the tradition for sure, and also the academics. I was able to get into the sports communication and media program, and that's something that's huge for me, getting a master's for free basically, which is perfect. But on the basketball part, I would definitely say tradition, and just to see how hard guys work. Like I played with John Sevier, who played here last year. I played with him growing up, so he just told me how hard you work coming in, and just seeing his success from coming here is one of the strong reasons why I came here.
You guys obviously know, for all three guys, I mean, you guys are big underdogs. Do you look at how well you shoot from the perimeter as kind of the wild card that if you guys get hot from outside, that can kind of be your anything can happen kind of day?
That could make a huge difference. It can make a difference, but, we're known as a three-point shooting team. But once you step on the court, you never know how the game's going to go. We had bad shooting nights where sometimes the inside guys carried us, so we're going to go out there and take what the game gives us.
Same. I feel like if we get hot, we can compete with any team in the country, like regardless of what the name is. They tie on their shoes the same way we do. Like, we going to go at them.
Yeah, I think we're just here to compete. I mean, we got 40 minutes to play a perfect game, and that's what we're going to try and do. It's us against them. We're not really worried about their tradition, their great powerhouse success, and things like that. It's just 40 minutes, one day. We just got to be better than them for that one day. So.
Any other questions for these guys? Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we're joined by Iona head coach Tim Cluse. Just a few announcements before we get started. Again, you can audio tape this conversation, cannot videotape it and put it on social media. When I get around to asking you guys asking questions, please give your name and affiliation prior to asking your question. Coach, if you want to do an opening statement, and then we'll open it up.
Yeah, I just want to say our Iona College and our team are really, really excited to be here and be a part of the big dance and get an opportunity to play against one of the best teams in the country, and we appreciate the hospitality of everybody.
Questions for Coach?
Hi, Tim. Will Graves, Associated Press. Forgive the bluntness of this question. The way it works in a lot of places where you're in a one big league and you have a lot of success, you know, other places come and say, hey, why don't you come here? It's more opportunities. I'm just curious what's kept you at Iona for that long, and have there been any close calls in the last 7 years?
What's kept me at Iona is probably the same thing that's kept me on Long Island my entire life, family. I love it there. I love the people that are involved. My family has gone through some medical issues for many years, and being there is the most important thing, not uprooting my family just to chase a job around. I've been really fortunate to have places, and now Iona, that have been really good to me. Yeah, I've had a couple of opportunities where people have called me, and I really haven't expressed much interest in it. It wasn't something that I thought would be the right fit for my family at that time. So I'm thrilled to be at Iona, and we're just trying to get better there.
Tim Benz from Trib Live. It's a little bit of a similar question here in the sense that I was curious as to what you might like about coaching in one of the smaller conferences. Is there a sense of security? Is there more of a sense of partnership between you and the athletic director's office, for instance, as opposed to when you get to a Power 5 school and it's, if you don't win in 2 years, you might be gone?
Well, in fairness, I don't know what it's like at those schools because I've never worked at one. I worked my way up through high school to where I am now, and my AD and my president are terrific. And I can walk into my AD's office anytime, or he can walk into mine, and we can have a million conversations that relate to our team or anything around school that we may need assistance with. So it is great. I grew up in New York, so Iona had a great reputation back in the Jim Valvano days. So being part of that is terrific, being able to bring New York basketball and keep it strong. And, you know, those are really good things. Now, do you dream of playing in those power conferences where you can get maybe a higher level talent and be able to compete at a different level? Of course you do. But it doesn't take away from anything I really enjoy doing. I like coaching young men who want to be better and where we can influence their lives to have better lives. And I think that's a bigger part of it than just coaching basketball, and I'm blessed to do it.
Coach, Doug Galassi with the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. When you do see your name come up for jobs, for instance, the Pitt job being one open right now, just how do you respond to that, especially when you're trying to prepare a team for the NCAA tournament?
Honestly, I don't pay much attention to it because I know there's rumors everywhere all the time. And I guess if my name is coming up somewhere, that's a good thing. That means we probably had a good year. So I do enjoy our season. My guys know it's all about us, and that's all I care about.
Howard Casoy, New York Post. Tim, there have been some 2-15 upsets over the years. I mean, Duke had one happen to them 6 years ago. I don't know how much history the guys know. I mean, do you give them specific examples? Have you shown them video or talked to them about, these are times where it happened and they know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to put some confidence into them that it can happen. When you go into every basketball game, you have to think you have an opportunity to win. Even if it's going to be I have to do this, and this 100% correct. You still have a chance. So you have to remind them that teams have been beaten. You have to sit similar opponents. Like St. John's, we were in the game with 7 minutes left. We could have cut it to 4. We turned it over twice. St. John's beat Duke. So we have to use those references. We're going to reference how we played at Syracuse. And in our feelings, if the game wasn't there, we may have won that game because a few calls late changed that game. Okay, so we know how they competed against Duke. Now we know we're playing against a tremendous, tremendous team, and that we have to play the best game we've played probably in some of our guys' lives. But that's why you play the games. It's a great opportunity.
Hey, Tim, Adam Zagori, how you doing? If you could just talk about your recruiting philosophy a little bit. I mean, you're playing a team here that has 3 or 4 one-and-dones.
Yeah.
You've had half a dozen almost done-in-ones, right, with the grad transfers. Talk about how that recruiting philosophy has worked for you, and have you ever tried to recruit a one-and-done? And
for us, a one-and-done would be the end we get it on. It would be a grad transfer because the reality is we're not able to get involved with those type of players. We just are not. I mean, our league, our facilities, our budgets, all the things that go with that. So we understand that. So we try to recruit to our needs. And I try to put it like if you were the CEO of your own business. Do you always want to go out there and hire the guy straight out of college, or do you want to get the best fit that's going to do the best job? Sometimes it's the guy right out of high school for us. Other times it's a need that is somebody who's a transfer, someone who's a junior college player, someone who's a grad transfer. It doesn't scare me to retool every year. I don't want to go into it and say, if I bring this whole group in 4 years from now, I'm going to be good. Because even at our level, that window of sitting around, if you don't do well, there's not a lot of patience even at our level anymore. So we understand that. I want to be good every year. I want to challenge for a title every year. So I think we recruit to that, and we recruit players who understand that, have a little chip or a little edge, and want to work really hard. I mean, really hard. And we lay it on the line when they come. I don't tell them how good they are. I tell them how good I think they can be. And then I'll talk to them about how hard they're going to have to work. And if they don't have a great work ethic and don't want that, don't come to Iona. And I think we've been fortunate to get guys who have really bought in and helped us be successful.
Tim, Luke DeCock, Raleigh News and Observer. You guys actually have more players who have played in an NCAA tournament game than Duke does. Is there any kind of advantage to be gained by that? And also, completely on a different note, but you mentioned it, is there any, what's the Jim Valvano legacy at Iona these days? So two
Right,
very
so
different.
I'll start with the first one. I don't know how much playing, 4 guys I think we have, 4 or 5 that have played the NCAA tournament, and none of them were our big stars. So I think it's going to help them as far as a comfort zone, excuse me, of being out there and knowing what the emotion is going to be like during the game, before the game, and everything we're going through right now, and they can share that with our other players. But talent is talent. Okay, when you get on a basketball court as a player, 2 minutes into the game, all that adrenaline is gone, and you're just playing basketball, and that focus disappears. You don't know there's anyone around you. You're just locked into what's going on. So, you know, I'm not quite so sure that matters. Now, Jim Valvano's legacy is a huge one at Iona. Obviously, we all know him from his days in North Carolina State, and then everything that happened to him in his passing, and the Jimmy V Foundation that's been phenomenal for so many people, and having a family who's really taken a lot of blows from cancer. It's one of the best things around that they do that, and they help so many people. We try to keep up that legacy, and that was, when I got there, it was one of the things I wanted to do, is keep the legacy of those coaches and those successful programs before us, and that's what we're striving for every year.
Back. Hi, Tim. Mark Herman from Newsday. 2 things. I wanted to find out how much have you gotten out of it? How much has your team gotten out of these trips here to the NCAAs? And also, just what does this all mean to your family?
It's phenomenal for our team, for our school, for our family. To be able to make this for me personally, it keeps my brothers alive. Them and my parents are the reason I got into basketball, and with the losses I had, basketball saved my life. And I do believe that God put me here to coach to help other people have better lives, and I truly believe that. So when we are able to get to this level, all I preach to my guys all year long is about working hard, and if you work hard, you can have goals that you never dreamed of. And when you win and get to this level, those guys will now believe that in other areas of their life. So when their basketball days are over, I know they're going to be able to find a way to be successful. And having done it as long as I have so many players who come back and point to all the hard work and all the discipline and all the accountability that they had because of our programs, and how successful they are now in life. And a lot of these players came from nothing. So that's where my pride comes and my joy comes, is watching them have better lives and being able to prove, see, you worked hard, something good happened, continue to work hard in your life no matter what happens, no matter what obstacles, and dream big.
Hi, Tim. I'm Amari Sanko for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. You have a former Robert Morris player, and Isaiah Still. I know he's not here. He's had the season out, but I was just curious, how is he acclimated to the program?
He's doing great. We were just talking about him outside, actually. He's a tremendous young man. He's working really, really hard, talented. I think he's going to have a phenomenal 2 years with our program, and we're really happy to have him.
Tim, you guys have obviously played some powerful teams in the past couple of years in the tournament, but is the mental preparation for the team any different with Duke, just because there's a different cachet to it? There's a different brand name that they've been watching this team since their whole lives, basically.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think it's a good thing. I think our guys are really excited about the opportunity. If you can't be ready to play Duke, there's something wrong with you. So when you look in that mirror, you know that you've got to give it everything you have. And the line I said to them before is, don't die wondering. Don't die wondering. Don't die wondering what could have been if you played as hard as you could. So go out there and let it all hang out.
Coach, wonder about the challenges of defending some of Duke's players, specifically Marvin Bagley. Is he kind of the number one guy that you try to limit, and then just what are some of the things?
Yeah, it's 1A, 1B, 1C like that. I mean, if you want to start on the inside, their size is a challenging task to our team because we do not have bodies that big, and he's just a tremendous player. But they have another one as big as him on the other side of it, and they have 3 guards that are going to be playing in the pros as well. So it's kind of a pick your poison situation where we have to try to take something away, see if that works, and if that doesn't work, make an adjustment as quickly as we can. And I'm sure we're going to be making a lot of adjustments throughout the game, and hopefully some of them work and some of the things that we want to do work. We have to shoot the ball at a really, really high clip tomorrow and share the ball and not turn it over. So there's a lot of challenges ahead, but that's why you play the games. It's great stuff.
Tim, Zachary Weiss, dystnow.com. We had Zach in here earlier, and he was talking about how big John Sevier was in him coming. Just what was the thoughts behind Sevier coming here, and how did that maybe help you see Zach and go from there?
I think the last 5 grad transfers were all playing professionally overseas, and all of them made the NCAA tournament. So I think they're able to talk about their dream coming true of making the tournament, of being on a winner, and then getting to play professionally afterwards. So in a system, that's a lot of fun to play in. And for us, it's kind of like you get the ball, you're our point guard. Most of the time it's 5 out of 5 guys. This year it's 4 out of 5 guys. So therefore, everyone gets to work on their ball handling, their passing, their shooting, their dribbling. On the offensive end, it's something they really enjoy. On the defensive end, we try to hold them accountable to playing with a tremendous amount of effort if they want to have that luxury on offense. So I think when a player tells another player about coming to a program, nothing can speak higher volumes than that. It's much better than a coach trying to talk someone into it.
Any other questions for Coach? Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.
Still solid? Good. Oh, you don't have to bring me up in the system. That's fine.
first time hearing that, man.
Hello.
Bluetooth.
Sound loud.
All right, we're joined by Rhode Island student athletes Andre Berry, Jarvis Garrett, E.C. Matthews, Stanford Robinson, and Jared Terrell. A few reminders, please, before you ask a question, give your name and affiliation. And this is to be recorded audio only, no video. With that, we'll open up the press conference with some questions for the student athletes.
Hi, Will Graves, Associated Press. Guys, I'm just curious, I mean, how much do you relish your offense the way you guys run things is so different than what OU does. I'm just curious, how much do you look forward to just sort of the challenge that covering Trey, guarding Trey provides?
We did a lot of transition today. Just trying to corral the ball, trying to get the ball out of his hands, and just loading up on the weak side, and just forcing the other players to make plays.
Does he remind you of anybody that you guys have played, or is he sort of his own deal, his range?
Well, his range is unlike anybody we faced this year, so that alone makes him very different. But we got a game plan for him. We're gonna try to get the ball out of his hands and make other guys create shots for the team, and we take pride in our defense. So it should be we're gonna accept the challenge. This will be real fun.
This is basically for any one of the players that wants to comment, but I'm just looking for some insight what it's been like to be coached by Coach Hurley and what he is like as a guy to deal with, not only as a coach and you the player, but also as a person. If anybody wants to give some feedback on that.
It's been hard. Nah, it's been fun. Coach Hurley is a passionate coach. He doesn't want to see. I'm sorry. He doesn't want to see anyone fail. He's going to push you every day to your limits, and he's going to strive for greatness every day. And he's going to make you pull out your greatness. So he's a great coach, and I love playing for him.
No, when you got a coach that's passionate, comes to work every day, ready to go, and always amped up, and just a loud body, just getting on you, and trying to make you a better person, just as well as trying to make you a better player. It's kind of hard not to like him.
Much like the Sooners, who had a hot start to the season and then kind of finished on a lower record towards the end, you guys 4-4 to end out the season. How is this an opportunity to maybe press the reset starting March?
They have to answer questions. So
please ask them. Jarvis Garrett, please give your name.
March is a whole new start to the season. So now it's all a clean slate, pretty much.
Adam Zagoria, for any of you guys, Trey was in here before talking about how we had respect for you guys as guards, your seniors. Do you guys think some of these one-and-done guys get too much attention and too much love on ESPN and all that stuff compared to seniors like yourself and some of the other seniors around the country? And why do you think that is?
I mean, these players that come in one and done, very talented. Let's not get that wrong. It's just, they had a lot of hype coming out of high school, so I feel like that helps them when they get to college. Everyone wants to see everyone's interested in what the youngins are doing, If you've been around for a while, it's kind of like you get old news. Everyone's into the new news. So, yeah, they do get a lot of hype, but, well-deserved. But I do wish, like older players, could still get, some of the recognition that these young players do as well.
For me, I just think everybody's journey is different. It depends, how much clout you got coming out of high school. It's rare to see 4-year guys now, but I don't know. I have respect for if you're a one and done player. If you're a 4-year player, everybody's journey is different. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question, but I respect everybody.
23 in Tulsa. For EC and Jared, obviously Trey had so much success in the first half of the season and in the Big 12. In the second half of conference play, it seemed like those teams seemed to figure out a little better way to defend him. For you guys defending him tomorrow, what have you seen from tape, or what's the strategy, and what will be the challenge facing him the first time?
We can't tell him my strategy.
Top secret.
Yeah. We have watched a lot of tape on him, and like I said, once he crosses half court, you know, he's liable to shoot the ball from anywhere. So we know that's something we have to take notice of, and like I said, we have a plan to speed him up. Our defense, we take pride in that, as you know, and we have guards that's gonna, you know, that loves to challenge, you know. So we're not going to shy away from that. And like I said, we have a plan to I hope it works tomorrow, hopefully.
Once upon a time, you were committed to Oklahoma State. Do you ever kind of imagine what that path could have presented for you? And, you know, if you had been a regular season opponent for a team like Oklahoma?
I don't really think about that much. I mean, it crosses my mind sometimes, but being here for 4 years has been a great experience. I wouldn't want to win anywhere else. And I just enjoy my time here.
For any of the seniors, a lot happens with coaches in leagues like the A10. If they have success, other leagues come, bigger Power 5 conferences come and try to lure them away. Coach's brother was at Buffalo, a year or two, and he took a job at Arizona State. I'm curious, has there been any point in your careers where you were concerned that Coach was going to be gone? And do you find yourself monitoring Twitter or checking rumors or any of that stuff? And what do you think has kept him around?
I would say on that question, I feel like we never really felt that he was gonna go anywhere because his loyalty to us. He always told us that he had our back no matter what, and that he wasn't gonna go anywhere, and we trusted him, so we believed that he was never going anywhere.
Do you find yourself checking Twitter or checking rumors or seeing what Zag's blog's got throwing Coach's name around?
We checked it sometimes. I mean, we're not gonna lie, we checked it out, but we just took his word on it, and that's what we went with.
Dean Blevins, News 9 Sports, Oklahoma City. Guys, how big a factor do you think it is that you're a veteran ball club? You were here last year. How do you think that will impact this game? Trey's young, and some of their other guys that play a lot are young.
Just keeping our composure. We've been on this stage before. We know what it takes to win at this level. And we just got to stick to our game plan and play how we've been playing all year.
Bill Koch with the Providence Journal. Andre, you were behind a couple really good players last year in Karan Iverson and Hassan Martin. You're probably going to start the game tomorrow after playing just 1 minute in 2 NCAA games. Can you speak to maybe what an opportunity that's going to be and how excited you're going to be for it?
It's a big opportunity. I feel like this whole year I've played well, and my teammates have had my back throughout the whole year and throughout these past 3 years I've been here. So tomorrow's a good experience for me. I feel like with these guys having my back and Coach Hurley trusting in me, that I'll do a good job. But right now I'm trying to focus on the win pretty much.
Stanford, can you just talk about the finish you guys had in the tournament last year and how that's going to affect your guys' motivation to maybe continue after tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the one of the questions before, it's all about the experience. The experience is going to give us confidence. We took a close loss to Oregon last year, and you know a lot of people didn't expect us to even be in that game. Just for us to accomplish things like that, the 9-0 win streak that we went through last year, and then the 16-0 win streak we went this year, and you know the ups and downs that we went as a team. You know it all gives us confidence, and we always got each other's back. So definitely it's gonna be a good run. It's gonna be a great run.
For any of you guys coming from Tulsa. A lot of Oklahoma fans don't know much about Rhode Island basketball, especially first time that the programs have met. And a lot of them are saying that I heard on my trip, you know, looking forward to facing Duke in the second round. What should Oklahoma fans, obviously the players respect you guys, but what should the fans know about Rhode Island basketball?
Google it.
I mean, we just gonna keep coming at you. We're not gonna stop until it's, zeros on the clock, and hopefully it's a great game. But on our end, we just gonna keep coming at you with hard defense.
Craig Meyer with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. When you first got to URI EC, what do you remember the sort of state of the program being like? And when you first got there, what sort of gave you hope and belief that you all could become what you have now?
When I first got there, it was very quiet. The fan base wasn't that large. People didn't really pay attention to our program, our basketball team throughout the country. And I remember it was me and Hassan Martin. He was a senior last year who graduated, but we came in and Coach Hurley had a vision, and we were kind of the first guys to start that. And like each year we would get more recruits, more people to commit there. And I don't know, over the years our program just grew and we got better, and it became what we are now. And hopefully, when we 5 seniors leave, it can continue to reach new heights. But Rhode Island has been on the map, if not this year. If not last year, definitely this year.
Mark Herman from Newsday in New York. This is for the seniors, just to follow up on what you said before, that not everybody stays for 4 years. What did being there for 4 years do for you as a player and as a person?
For me, it was more maturity, just growing as a person, learning how to carry myself on and off the court, and on the court, just my game overall, learning how to handle different situations, becoming a better player skill-wise, being able to shoot better, and learning how to handle different situations throughout the game.
Definitely. I think just staying in school longer, you just become more mature. You learn how to handle certain situations on and off the court, things to support your family in the future, and just the relationships you build, it lasts forever. So staying in school is definitely a great thing for me.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we're joined by Rhode Island head coach Dan Hurley here at the dais. A couple quick things here. Please give your name and affiliation when you're asking a question, and no video is allowed. Coach Hurley, if you want to do an opening statement, and then we'll ask questions.
Playing in the NCAA tournament is a reward for having a great season, and guys are really thrilled to get a chance to play here in Pittsburgh tomorrow, versus a great Oklahoma team, and exciting matchup, CBS game to kind of tip off the Thursday, start of the tournament. So it's exciting opportunity, and thrilled to be here. Can't wait to compete against Oklahoma.
Doug Galassi, Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Coach, I know pretty much when you talk about Oklahoma, the first name that comes up is Trey Young. So just when you look at a player like him, what are the challenges of defending a point guard with his abilities?
Yeah, Trey Young, he really has no weakness in his game. He can score at every level. Obviously with amazing range on his perimeter shot. He could pass the ball with either hand at ridiculous angles. He has the ball in his hands. It has to be over 90% of the time. 90, maybe even 95%. So and he's just constantly attacking. So he has every requisite skill. And you just try to make things as hard for him as you possibly can in your ball screen defense. And when he's playing in isolations and when he's coming at you in transition. You just try to show him as many different looks as you can during the course of the game, because he adjusts so quickly to what he sees on the court, because he also has the mind for the game too. So, it's a heck of a challenge, but they also have, some long athletes that play around him, and when they're right, long athletes are making threes around him when they're right. So, but it all starts with him.
Dan, Tim Benz from Trib Live. I was wondering, in the days leading up to the brackets, or even a couple days after, were you aware of how much your name had been connected to the Pitt coaching job? And how do you feel about being here? I mean, to the point that a lot of people are billing Dan Hurley's Rhode Island Rams are being here as much of a lead story as anything. Are you flattered by that? Does it make it awkward? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, it's something that, listen, we're in a social media, age, so for me to sit up here and say I have no awareness would be, wouldn't be truthful, but I haven't thought 1 second about, any other team or program or, what city I'm playing in relative to who has a coaching vacancy. This is a special group of players that I recruited into this program. These seniors are special. This program has become special. It's our second straight trip to the NCAA tournament after not being in one for a long time. And, we've built an amazing thing at Rhode Island. And, so that's really the only thing I've ever thought about during the course of this season is, is this team and our goals and trying to reach them. And, I've been on that, coaching rumors, with me is something that it's a great reflection for the university, our program, and these players have made it, their efforts have made me, I guess, attractive to other schools. So, credit to the university and what they've been able to build in terms of the program and these great players.
Dane O'Neill at The Athletic. Dan, you had a pretty visceral reaction to Bobby's selection into this tournament. Just can you explain the emotions? I know you guys speak regularly, but what you felt like in that moment seeing Arizona State up there?
Yeah, it was tremendous, joy, and because of the format, I would like to thank the CBS or whoever decided to do it that way alphabetically, so I could find out quickly. It was joy and then a tremendous amount of just relief, just relief, for Bob. I know how hard he works. I know how hard his team has worked. I know how potentially great they could play in a tournament format, which plays a little bit more like a non-conference than a conference schedule, in terms of this, the way that the game's going to be played. So it was tremendous relief, joy, all these things, because I knew how bad he wanted it for his team.
Yeah, I'm Adam Zagoria from the St. Benedict's Prep newsletter. Just to follow on Dana's question, when's the last time you talked to Bobby? Did you share any good anecdotes? And also, I know your mom and dad are driving out to both games. What's that going to be like for you guys having them at both games?
Yeah, we speak, twice a day when when it's at a critical point, when we need that support from each other, and for the most part, also text messaging, just different things to keep each other's spirits up. We don't, my dad started our coaching tree, and we got into this together at Wagner College, several years back. So, we're each other's support system in this business, which is tough at times. The highs and lows, to be able to share those with your brother and support each other, through those moments with your best friend, person that that you love and care about. It's an amazing thing, and to go through with your brother. And then my parents, they'll be driving around a lot this week, and then if Bob wins, they'll be heading to Detroit. So they got their work cut out for him, but it's good because my dad needs to be kept busy because he's been driving my mother crazy the whole year, driving her just crazy.
Yeah, Craig Meyer with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Dan, you were talking a little bit earlier about, with your success, some of the rumors that can surround you sometimes. I was curious how, if at all, you approach that with your players.
Well, earlier in the year, we during one of our conference games, the student section was yelling at our bench, that, hey, your coach is going to X school. And Fats Russell asked me after the game, was I coaching the next game? So, I had a conversation with him. The players, internally, everyone knows, where my head is at. And they're used to it. It's been like that every, off season. It's just, it's happened, a little bit sooner for them. And, than it normally would, but this isn't, the first time that my name's been connected to jobs. They understand the situation, and they're used to it. I'm used to it, and it's not a distraction at all.
Dan Bill Koch with the Providence Journal. Not just playing Trey Young tomorrow, but going up against Long Kruger, a coach who's had tremendous success, been to 2 Final Fours, taken 5 schools to the NCAAs. For you personally, when you match up with another coach with a resume like that, does that give you a little extra juice?
Me and Bob were talking about that last night. It's, you're coaching against Jim Boeheim tomorrow night in the NCAA tournament. That's pretty cool. Playing Oklahoma, from the Big 12, one of the most talked about college teams in the country this year, with one of the most talked about college basketball stars in recent memory as a freshman, and then a coach of his caliber. I mean, how could you not feel like it's an amazing opportunity and something that's just thrilling? It's thrilling to be a part of the NCAA tournament. It's hard to get in this tournament. There's a lot of really, really good teams that didn't get in, so it's a thrill to be here. But I mean, to see that Oklahoma flash, it just added just some extra sizzle to it.
Mark Berman of the Roanoke Times in Virginia. I was just curious, since Alabama is here as well, since you played them this year, I was wondering what you recall about that game in terms of the challenges that Alabama posed for you when you played them.
Yeah, I mean, they're similar to Oklahoma in terms of being long and athletic. Both are led by amazing point guards, different type players, but both obvious lottery pick players, but just I think very similar in terms of the size, the length. Alabama, I think really showed who they were. Late in the SEC tournament, the way they played, an amazingly, I think, talented offensive team. Across the board, and they're very, very deep team.
Hi, Danny. Ryan Record, ABC here in Pittsburgh. Going back to Seton Hall, and now obviously as a head coach, you've gone head-to-head with the schools here in Pittsburgh. I'm curious what your take is on the reputation from a basketball sense of Pittsburgh in this region.
Well, we've had at Rhode Island, I've been here, I didn't always play well. I think we played in the Fitzgerald, I think. Had some really, really bad games in there. So not too many fond memories as a player. I think we, PJ didn't walk out real happy with us after several of those nights in there. And but I've had better success as a coach, coming back in here with Wagner, several years back in my second year there. That was a pretty neat moment, followed up by the 9-hour bus ride back to Staten Island. And then, and then last year here with the A-10 tournament, obviously, we feel like we play well in Pittsburgh. We've played well in this arena. Hopefully, we have some magic in the tournament here.
Bill Koch with the Providence Journal. Dan, you talking about bus rides made me think about your commute out here based on the snow. Had to leave a little early. How are you guys physically in terms of the couple days of travel?
Yeah, it's the. We wish we could have, the weather would have cooperated, and because we played Friday, we played 3 pretty intense games, Friday, Saturday, and the championship, hard fought, tough loss to stomach versus Davidson, that 1-point game on Sunday. We had the, we flew commercial, got in real late, Sunday night, a little bit after midnight, and then we were, back on the buses on Monday night just to try to beat the storm. There was just no way for us to, coordinate the entire group and get out on on a plane Monday night. So, so we drove about halfway and Monday night into Tuesday morning, got to a hotel around 2 a.m., 2:30, slept for a couple hours, and then busted in. And guys feel good. I think getting in here today, I think they were dragging a little bit yesterday in practice, but just getting in here and getting the experience. We don't want them to miss that. We don't want to have to wait, maybe try and catch a Wednesday flight, and then they miss all this. This is the reward for having a great season, and we wanted them to experience it. But before they could experience this, they had to experience the minor league baseball bus trip.
Dan, sorry, I couldn't let that Fitzgerald Fieldhouse reference go without a follow-up. I mean, what do you remember about playing games in that old gym, and what do you think about how that program is built to the point where they got the Pete up on the hill now in Oakland?
Yeah, I remember struggling against Sean Miller early on, playing there, and then Jerry McCullough, and and then obviously I followed the program. I'm a basketball junkie, so the work that Ben and Jamie did there was amazing.
Andrea Adelson, ESPN.com, as a follow-up to your bus trip here. When did it become clear that you guys were going to have to change your plans and leave early, and where did you end up staying on Monday night?
All right, so right around 4:45 p.m. on Monday, we audibled to the 11 p.m. departure bus, and then we stayed in Passaic. We found a Courtyard Marriott in Passaic. We stopped. We stayed. They did lie to me, though. The staff told me it was going to be, I think they said it was a 6.5 hour bus ride. It was more like 9. So we did the 3, and then we did the 6. And now we're here, but we're ready to go.
Any other questions for Coach? Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, we're joined by Duke student athletes Grayson Allen and Marvin Begley. A couple of reminders. When you ask a question, please give your name and affiliation. You're allowed to audio tape these proceedings. Do not videotape them. Questions for the student athletes?
Grayson, I have kind of a random question for you. Dane O'Neill with The Athletic. We were told that the guy who's the songwriter for One Shiny Moment has like a picture of you watching yourself on the replay from when you guys won the title as like sort of an inspiration. What is it like to watch yourself on One Shiny Moment? It's a very random question, I know.
Yeah, it's really, it's weird because, you know, as like basketball players and basketball fans, we obviously watch that moment, and you see that one team standing up there at the end of the year. And for me to be able to have that moment myself and go back and watch that, I haven't gone back and watched it in a while, probably since right after it happened. But to have that just like years from now to watch, and it's very special. It's very memorable, and part of what makes it is because you look at that moment so many times growing up, and you just try to picture yourself there.
For both players, Tim Benz from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. For both players, I know Coach Krzyzewski's resume speaks for itself, but I'm wondering how you both have been impacted by his assistants, the guys on the staff, some of the younger guys that have been in the program pretty recently, John, Nolan, Nate. If you guys could maybe share a story or two about how those guys have helped you along during your time at Duke, how they've impacted your careers here. One of each, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Coach is arguably the greatest coach to ever coach. So being able to be under his wing all year, every practice, seeing him every day, you know, it's a great experience to be able to learn from him and pick his brain on certain things that he knows about. You know, he coached the U.S. team, won some championships. So being able to be a part of something so special with him leading the way is something really I'll remember for the rest of my life. And it's been a great experience for me. And I'm just having fun every day, and I'm just trying to learn as much as I can.
The thing with his assistants, you share a lot of experience with them because they were all in our shoes. So, you know, nobody's career is going to be perfect, so anything you really go through, they've been through something similar or maybe the exact same thing. So there's moments where, for example, me last year, being this mixture of point guard and wing, I talked to Nolan a lot and Coach Shire because both of those guys were kind of in that combo position, played some point, were more scorers, and so talking to them a lot about how they handled it, their mindset between, you know, distributing and running the team and also trying to score the ball. And then you know, talk to a lot of these guys about leadership. You know, Coach James and Coach Gabe, all of our assistant coaches were great leaders on their teams. And so you just try to pick their brains on certain things that you can do for this team, but also you can do as a leader underneath Coach, because they obviously played for Coach too, and so you just share so many similarities, you can learn a ton.
Andrea Olson, ESPN.com. Grayson, in what ways has this season been a different challenge for you than the past few years?
You know, leadership is very different and new, and it comes with its own challenges. You know, especially with a very young team who everything is a first. And, you know, it's your first game in Cameron, your first ACC game, first true road game, first tournament, everything's a first. And so you have to try to prepare them. And for me being the lone senior and lone captain, it puts a lot on my plate to try to prepare these guys. So you really have to expand your focus to not only on yourself, but, you know, making sure all these guys are okay. And it makes it easy when they're as good as they are. It makes it a little bit easier. But still, you know, experience is something that's tough to beat. And so we've tried to gain that throughout the year. And I know the young guys will say it's been challenging at times for them because they've had to learn so much, but they've done a great job of it. And I've just tried to be the best example I could for them.
Mark Berman, the Roanoke Times. I was wondering, Grayson, what's your kind of mindset going into your last NCAA tournament? I assume trying to soak everything up there. And also, Marvin, obviously, Trey Young was in here earlier talking about, last year he's getting ready at this time to play the McDonald's All-America game, and now he gets to be part of March Madness. So I was kind of wondering what your mindset is toward going into your first NCAA tournament.
It's something new. I obviously haven't been a part of. You grow up, you watch it in school. Everybody has their phones and iPads, whatever they have, computers, whatever they have, watching this tournament. So it's obviously a big thing for the sport of basketball. So being able to finally be here and actually be a part of it is a great thing, great feeling. And I'm just trying to soak it all in. This is, from here on out, you only get one guaranteed game, and we got to take it one day at a time. So just trying to soak everything in and just try to have fun, but still be able to lock in when it's time to be prepared and get ready.
For me, I'm just trying to be in the moment in everything I do. Knowing I've been here before, but I'm probably going to remember the last a lot. And so just trying to be in the moment. I know everything still feels new for me because each time I've done it, it's been with a completely different group. And so just trying to enjoy it and make a special moment with this team and this group, and try to look back where at the end I don't have any regrets. I don't want to look back and say I should have changed something in my preparation. I should have changed something in how I practiced and worked leading up to the game. I don't want to look back and be able to say any of those things. So it's just fully committing 110% to basketball right now and everything I do leading up to this.
Mark Herman from Newsday in New York. Marvin, some of us remember seeing your grandfather play. I just wanted to find out, what do you know about Joe Caldwell and his legacy? And also for both players, what do you know about Iona?
I know a lot of my grandpa obviously tells me stuff, and I've seen some highlights of him in the All-Star game playing against many of the greats that played the game. So there's a lot of stories out there about him, how good he was, how he can jump out the gym, how he got his nickname. It's a lot of great stories out there about him. So he just tries to show me things every now and then, what he did back then, and it's pretty cool to see it because I'm not used to seeing him run the floor and score points like he was doing back then. So it's pretty cool to see stuff like that. I'm just trying to soak that in as well, just learn from him and anything I can.
Yeah, well, we know Iona, they have a great basketball tradition at their school. They're not a stranger to the tournament. They've been here before, many times before, actually. Myself, I actually have had a class with Coach Welsh at Duke, who is an old Iona coach. So that's one pretty neat thing. And so we understand the basketball tradition they have there. This isn't just, they're not just a team who's lucky to be here. They do this. This is what they do. And so, that's a really cool thing about them. And they're a very good basketball team, fast-paced, and they can really score the ball. They have a lot of guys that can beat you. It's not a team that has a top scorer, a top guy that you have to watch. They have 6 or 7 guys who can go off and be their leading scorer any game. So it makes them a dangerous team to defend too.
Grayson, the 2015 tournament, I'm over here. I'm Mario St. Cuff with Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. The 2015 tournament was really big for you as far as just you sort of breaking out, establishing the kind of player you are. 3 years later, as a senior, has your mindset at all changed or adjusted, compared to then when you were a freshman?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. My freshman year, I had no idea what to expect or what to do. I just kind of wanted to play hard and just go out there and just leave it all out there. And from that aspect, it hasn't changed. But, with this team, I'm in a completely different role. I've kind of flipped the script from being, the freshman on the end of the bench who wasn't getting much playing time, really didn't have any pressure on him, to now being the leader of a team and kind of growing into that role. So it's completely different from that mindset. But at the same time, I still want to have a great moment with this group.
Jeff Goodman with ESPN. Grayson, I asked you this before, so you don't need to answer this one. But about the zone, Marvin, what was your reaction when coach kind of told you, or maybe he didn't tell you, maybe you just started playing the zone exclusively a few weeks ago? And how long has it taken you to adjust, to get comfortable playing the zone?
It's, you know, it's a long season, so a lot of things can happen where we adjust to certain things, and, you know, coach just moved into the zone, and we've been playing it. You know, I think we've been playing it pretty well for the most part, but, you know, there's obviously things we could get better at in it. But, you know, it's just something that coach put in for us to, you know, just to try to make adjustments on the defensive end, and I think it's been working out great for us.
Eric Brady from USA Today. This morning we had thousands of high school kids walk out of class on a protest of gun violence. As college students, have you thought about the issue of gun control? And if so, can you tell us what you think?
Well, I think one of the things is that there's obviously a problem when you see so much violence in our country. As far as, you know, picking something to change, I'm honest and open enough to say I don't know. But there has to be a change in something that we do as people, something we do as a country, because there is so much violence. So much of it is affecting families. So much of it is just unwarranted and senseless that it really, it's troubling. It's really troubling, and anybody who knows it or follows it, you know, you have to kind of be moved by it, because you see how much of a problem it is and how really heartbreaking it is to see just loss of lives over nothing, over senseless violence. So I think, you know, the protests are great, you know, as long as we're pushing for some type of positive change. But again, I can't sit up here and say I want a certain thing to be changed. I don't know exactly what it is.
Any other questions for these guys?
One more for Grayson. In what ways do you feel like you're better prepared now for your future for the draft than you would have been if you had decided to leave after last season?
Well, I think I'm a better basketball player. You know, I think that it's a very interesting thing when you talk about, you know, people staying in college hurting their draft stock, because I think I've become a much better basketball player over the last 3 years. And each time I've kind of chose to say, you know, I'm staying in school, I'm not going anywhere. You know, the interesting thing is I'm choosing to stay here because I want to learn under coach, and I think he's the greatest basketball coach that I could learn under. And so I think I'm a much better basketball player, much more rounded basketball player. And then leadership has affected my game in a ton of positive ways. And, you know, I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I wasn't here for my senior year.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Just a reminder, the locker room is open right now for these guys. All right, just a few things here before Coach just has to get started. If you have a question, please give your name and your affiliation. This can be audio taped, not videotaped. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach.
Yeah, well, obviously we're excited to be here. Pittsburgh's what a great town to be in. Reminds me of my hometown, Chicago, and I used to come to this part of the country when I was a little kid quite a bit, because my mom was born right near Uniontown, in a little coal mining town called Keisterville, and so brings back some really good memories. Our team is healthy. I know you don't want to hear about me and my childhood, but shame on you for not wanting to hear that. Our team's healthy. We're excited. Obviously, we're going to play a very explosive offensive team coached by a guy who has not just coached a team, but has built a program. And, you know, Iona has a great basketball tradition that I'm well aware of since my days of coaching at Army. Any questions, please?
Luke DeCock, Raleigh News and Observer. You just mentioned Iona's tradition. Obviously, we think of Jim Valvano as the V Foundation and NC State, but you guys had 5 years of battles there. What role does Iona play in the Valvano legacy in your mind, and what is your strongest memory of those days?
Yeah, well, it's a huge part of his legacy because, you know, he got Jeff Rulin and Vickers and these guys to go there, and you know, I think one of the biggest, it could be the biggest win that they've had was against Louisville in the Garden, which propelled them, and they were the talk of the town once he got it done. And we didn't battle for 5 years, but we battled a few years, and I bring my team with a guy named Gary Winton at 6'4", a really strong guy, battling Ruland, and you know, he had the upper hand, but that's where that's where he started. I mean, but he wasn't the first guy there. You know, there was a tradition for basketball before, but then he took it to another level.
Joe Starkey, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Mike, I apologize for going a little off topic here, but Pistol Pete Maravich was born right down the river and spent some of his early years here, and I'm wondering, just at the name Pistol Pete, if that evokes any images or interactions you may have had.
I mean, that's during my time, and every kid wanted to be him. And imagine if there was a three-point shot. There'd be no records that would ever, his records would be even further. Just magical with the ball, and to me, people talk about a guy going into a zone and being able to, he was in a zone all the time. You know, he was probably the most entertaining player to watch on a collegiate level that I've ever seen. It's just magical, and if TV and everything was what it is today, then, you know, it would be, he would have the top ratings. And you know, it was actually the year after I graduated, Army beat him. Jimmy Oxley, my buddy's senior year, but again, you smile. Kids today should see his videos and just how good he was handling the ball. Not necessarily just all of his shot selection. All right.
Mike, Tim Benz from Trib Live. I had a question for you about coaching staff assembly, how you assemble your staff largely from within. The first question would be, I know you've been with Coach Capel for a while, but your three younger assistants, what stood out about them quality-wise that made you want to put them on your bench with you? And then the second part of that would be, beyond knowing the program, knowing the conference, how important is it to have guys on your staff that know the conference as well?
Well, it's knowing your environment. And once I knew, this was a long time ago, that I'm going to be at Duke, you know, that I don't want to go anywhere else. You know, entertain maybe a pro thing a couple times, but no collegiate job ever interested me. I felt that our environment was different, whether it's best or whatever. Duke, I didn't go to Duke, so someone who could feel Duke, feel what it is to be a freshman there coming in, and then knowing me. There's something about institutional memory in any business, and you know, my memory's not the best. And so sometimes they'll say, you know, remember when we did this? And each of my guys, I only wanted you know, Mike Bray was the last guy who was not one of my former players, and that was a while ago. I wanted guys who I thought were students of the game and were captains. They were leaders. And then that's helped maintain a relationship with our former players, too, because they not only, you know, refer to me because I was their coach. Their teammates or a guy that helped recruit them is on the staff, and it's created a really great environment for us. I think, did I answer? Well, yeah, they're great teachers. You know, they feel, you know, all those guys feel the game. They have a great feel for the game. All my guys well, Jeff has been a head coach. You know, all my guys will be really good head coaches, as the guys who have been with me before. You know, Wojo, Chris, Tommy, Johnny, these guys.
Dane O'Neill with The Athletic. To your point about what you just said about making the decision to stay at Duke, Danny Hurley was in here earlier, asked about hearing his name. How did you decide, and then how do you advise maybe even your assistants or other coaches about whether the grass is greener, whether you should stay or go?
Yeah, I think, one, can you understand where you're at and the people that you have to compete against? They bring out the best in you. Our conference does that, our non-conference schedule. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot. And then do you go then to a lower Division I or mid-Division I, or do you try to skip that step and wait for an opportunity to get something in a power conference or what? But I always tell them, follow your heart. Just use your head while you're following it. And then I'll support them, whatever they want to do.
Coach K, Amari Sankofa from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'm just curious. Earlier you said your grandmother was in Uniontown.
My mom.
Your mom.
Yeah.
Did you spend
Keisterville.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of family?
Yeah,
Western
there's still
PA?
some there. I haven't seen them for a long time. But when I was a kid, we used to take a car trip from Chicago to Keisterville, and that was a big thing. I don't know how big it would be for my grandkids now, but I would hope it would still be nice.
And do you think you have a chance to maybe go down there while you're?
No, I won't be able to do that. Yeah. There's no time. We have press conferences and have things like that. I can hear you.
Some zone, some man earlier in the year, and then a few weeks ago you went pretty much exclusively to zone.
Right.
Do you remember what it was exactly that made you say, hey, we got to go exclusively to zone at this point?
Yeah, well, I think getting to know our team, that's a big thing throughout the year. You're trying to squeeze a lot in a 7-month period or so. And the movements, the foot movements and how we got wider playing man really helped us in playing zone. And then our top 7 guys, 4 of them are big guys. And when we subbed, we got all our big guys away from the basket. And so we said, now that we have the good lateral movement, let's teach this as our primary D. We still do man. We haven't shown it, but we're prepared to play man. But our movements are better. And for whatever reason, probably somebody who's done this both man and zone before me would understand this, but we don't talk as well as a team in man. I communicate. I think we think too much of our individual assignment, whereas in zone we really talk well, or we talk better. We didn't really talk well in the ACC tournament, and our movement wasn't as good. But overall, our communication is just really at a much different level. And, if you're communicating, you have a better chance to be won. And so that's how we got here. And we're a good defensive team. And we're trying to get better and trying to look at other things that we can do in the zone that can produce tempo for us. And no, I don't know. It probably should have been an epiphany, right? And probably when Marvin was out, yeah. And then we put Grayson back on top, and now we've put Trayvon back there. But we stuck with the zone.
John McKelvey with the Norman Transcript. Mike, what do you think about the two talented freshmen here, and how they've handled their celebrity? Because with
there are more than 2 talented freshmen here, because I coach more than 2.
That's true.
And
but the two big celebrities, Marvin Bagley and
I haven't really looked at another team.
Yeah.
Except Iona. So, look, I know Trey. We looked at him. We were impressed with him. But to me, I'd rather just talk about Iona.
Okay.
And if we're fortunate enough to, and my guys, if we're fortunate enough to play Oklahoma, then I'll talk forever about it.
Let me just ask you then, what do you think about how Marvin's handled all the celebrity, all the fans, all that stuff, and is that something where freshmen have gotten better at that?
Yeah, well, they're thrown into it sooner, and they handle it better if everybody on their team handles it well. And so our guys have handled it well because, Wendell Carter is a very good player, Gary Trent, for the start of the ACC, especially January, is shooting over. He's the leading three-point shooter in the ACC. So those guys know that they're good players. They also know that Marvin is a special talent, and then Marvin's a good guy, So he's a team guy. So that's helped tremendously. But the other guys have really good egos, and Grayson being one of the key guys, because an upperclassman, unless they're pretty solid guys, they could say, hey, what about me? And Grayson's never done that.
Mark Herman from Newsday in New York.
Right here, I'm sorry.
Just to follow up on your familiarity with Iona and that part of the world, what is it about that place that makes it such fertile ground for basketball?
Well, it's a really good school. It's just in New Rochelle. It's a beautiful campus, and they attract really good students. They attract good people, and then they've had this rich basketball tradition from McDermott. I mean, one of the guys who is a teacher at Duke, Jerry Welsh, was a coach there. Pat Kennedy, you're Gary Brokaw. I mean, you're talking about a history of outstanding coaches, and Tim's the latest one, and to carry that on, they have great, really, for a program. Just a basketball school, a smaller school, they have such a rich basketball tradition.
Kevin Gorman.
Yeah.
Kevin Gorman from the Tribune Review. When you see a program in the ACC like Pitt have Jamie Dixon leave and 2 years later fires Kevin Stallings, how much does that raise our eyebrows around the coaching fraternity, and how much, when you see that type of turnover at a program, especially in a fellow ACC program, how much, if you were advising another coach or even one of your assistants to look at that job, would that be something you'd
Well, I'd rather
be
not
concerned?
talk specifically about advising my assistant, but look, nothing surprises you in our world, or should, because things can turn over so quickly. Recruiting and the rapidity of high-level recruiting puts you in a position to fall short easier, because you don't have your guys as long. And with the amazing number of transfers that take place, especially, the biggest one and done is the grad transfer. People talk about one and done. Well, if you compared numbers, it's not even close with kids from high school that go one and done and the grad transfers. And as a result, programs can change quickly. And so it doesn't surprise me. And, the programs that have been able to keep it going year after year, probably have great support they probably have continuity in ADs and presidents. I think that's another thing to look at in changing, because even the lower Division I programs or mid-Division I programs, you have sometimes ADs who are looking to climb. And where they might, the older days, you might stick with somebody. Well, you haven't been to the NCAA tournament in 8 years, but you have a great, well, I'm not sure I want to be here for 8 years as an AD. So if one of their team, if that team goes to the NCAA, boom, they're part of that rocket, that takes them to another place. So there's more chance for change right now than even 10 years ago, by far. So it doesn't surprise me.
Hey, Coach Adam Zagoria, you mentioned the grad transfers on Iona. Coach Klus was out here before saying he's built his team a lot through transfers,
Sure.
grad transfers, and he can't recruit, McDonald's All-Americans. I guess, can you just speak to how coaches kind of adapt their recruiting philosophy to the school they're at? I mean, you're going about it one way, Tim's doing it another way. I mean, if you were the coach at Iona, would you kind of do what he's doing? Or?
Well, I would. If you go every year to the NCAA tournament, I mean, he's doing something really good. How you all adapt. I mean, how people adapt is part of how you maintain success. I mean, I have to adapt. You know, I've been coaching for 43 years. I better adapt to how I deal with the kids I coach. And so, you know, good leaders stick with good fundamental values while they adapt to the current environment of how to, you know, how to be successful. And he's done that. And really, the grad transfer thing is a huge thing. That's I think that's been something that really hasn't been written about, the impact of the grad transfer, because and they've done a really good job of it, and just transfers in general, and then we'll see where that goes depending on how legislation goes with that. But then that would be interesting if that changes. Then you're really going to see rapidity of change, big time, big time.
Mike, Josh Roundtree, 93.7 The Fan. In 1997, Coppin State as a 15 seed won here, and that was pretty rare. People still talk about that here. It was so rare that now it's happened, you know, 4 times in the last 6 years.
Yeah, we've been one of them. So.
Right. How have you seen that gap
Are
close?
you trying to like ease yourself in there, or what?
No. How have you seen the gap close though, from 25 years ago to where we are
well,
now?
Well, based on exactly what we're talking about, if you can have 22, 23, and 24-year-olds playing against 19-year-olds, that can happen. I mean, that's what happened. And good coaching. When we lost to Mercer, their team that won together over 90 games together, they have one of the better coaches in the country, and they're 22, 23 years old. They know how to play, and they're tough. They're men. And that's there's more chance of that happening. You know, it's, you know, now in Coppin State, that was less of a chance during that time. But right now, there's a chance that can happen at any time.
Hey, Jonathan Alexander with the News and Observer. You all are a top 10 defense right
Thanks.
now. According to many rankings.
I'm sorry we didn't hit your heart, but...
what do you think changed for you all from whatever the middle of the season or the beginning or whatever it is that helped prepare you all to where you are now?
Yeah, I just think we've gotten to know each other better, and we've stayed healthy. We haven't lost. You know, Marvin was out for 4 games, and we've kept growing. We've gotten better. You know, throughout the whole year, we've gotten better to right now we're the best that we have been all year. Even though we didn't play a really good 34 minutes against North Carolina, we're a good team right now. And I love that. That means that our kids have bought in throughout, and they've made each other better throughout.
Coach, Doug Galassi with the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. You mentioned the impact of graduate transfers, but I wanted to ask about those 19-year-olds that you mentioned. Is there a common thread you look at when you see a guy like Marvin or even other guys in this city this weekend, like a Trey Young or Colin Sexton, to help them acclimate to college ball so quickly? What kind of stands out when you look at guys like that?
Well, their talent and their drive and their work ethic. And they know that they have it, and then when they come into your program, are they going to give it to you to develop? And in our case, the guys who've come in have done that. So you wish you could coach them longer, and you're not ever going to coach them to the level that they will be at, but can you get them to a very high level where they can be successful in this environment. And but like in Marvin's case, I can't speak to the other youngsters. Marvin, Wendell, these guys, they've been great kids for us, and they're not going to be really good all the time because of transitions that they have to make. But and they're called upon to do it every day. But overall, they've been really good to work with. And so you look for attitude along with that. Is will they give themselves up to be taught? Will they listen, or are they stuck in their ways? And I can speak for Marvin. He's a good student of the game, and he's been a real pleasure to coach.
Andrea Adelson, ESPN.com. As a quick follow-up to the transfer conversation, now there's talk about potentially transferring with immediate eligibility if you hit a certain grade point average. What are your thoughts on that? Because there's the unintended consequence of maybe coaches trying to not get their players to get to that grade point average. So that
well,
they won't transfer.
in any, you bring up a great point. In any rule, or there's going to be people trying to get around it, and so the people who are making the rules should understand that there are already people trying to break the rule that they're trying to make, and therefore is the rule a good rule? Because you're going to have to deal with how people try to take advantage of it. So the transfer thing is a complex issue. It's a complex issue, and I don't envy the people making the decisions, but ask them that question before they put it out, because that's what you have to consider. Like, how will people try to stay within the rules but maneuver? Will you put your kids in harder courses, or I don't know. Would you? If there's a way of getting around it, somebody will figure it out. That's why when people are amazed that something happens that's wrong, how could that happen? It happens all the time. People are always trying to get around things. I think that's one of the really tough issues facing our the NCAA. But the biggest issue is your definition of amateurism, and what can be done for the kids before you get them, to make sure that what you don't know or cannot know doesn't hurt you when they are with you. Can we help those kids a little bit, not a little bit better, but a lot better in doing that?
Any other questions for Coach?
Yeah, my team isn't. Don't I practice at 1:15? Yeah, I gotta get the heck out of here, right? Yeah, as important as you are, I'd like to take care of my 40 minutes. We're on at 1:15, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm late. All right. Thank you. All right. Appreciate it.